Hello, it's time for a hobby journey video. Now, I haven't done one of these in a very long time. And this used to be basically like my time for reflective thoughts on hobby projects and think through concepts. Maybe a good time to ask some questions or something like that too, if anyone has any. But, it's mostly just a recap of what happened the past month of my hobby. And I thought this was a good time to get this going again for two reasons. Well, first, I obviously restarted or trying to relaunch my YouTube channel a bit in July. Pretty good so far. I'm pretty happy with how things have gone. Lots more in the works, which we'll be talking about in a little bit. But I'm also now in a position where I've finally finished, much of this year spent working on just assembling models. Just assembling models. Hours and hours and hours assembling models. There were probably 3 or 4 months where all I did is glue. Every single night. 3 hours a day. It's just assemble stuff. And that's finished. Which is nice. There's one or two forge roll kits. I'm not going to get into those. A couple like old metal kits that I don't want to fiddle with right now. But everything else is finished. And that's crazy. So no more pile of shame. Now I just have oodles of drawers full of gray plastic models. So I'm going to go through some organization here. My 40K collection in particular just needs to be, I need to kind of just work through it, kind of divvy up, what armies get what things, especially when, like in Space Marines and Eldar, and just really think through how I want to formulate those types of projects in the future. But the good thing is that I should very shortly be able to concentrate a lot more time into painting. Now, at the beginning of this year, I did a couple of painting projects. I did Sisters of Silence and some Sylvaneth Dryads, and I want to get back into that pretty aggressively. I'm going to try to temper my spending as much as I can, but yeah, mostly just painting. And, my focus is going to be the armies that have the most unpainted models. That's what I'm going to be working on. And I'll kind of switch between Grand Alliances and stuff like that. But really want to get back into that and really get some work done. Now, at the end of 2018, part of 2018, I was trying to do this 1 week, 1 project idea. I like that idea. I think it's a lot of fun. It's a little too random to actually get things finished. In a broad sense. I love the idea of switching projects so frequently, but, it would take a very long time to actually finish anything. And so I want to be a little more focused there. And again, focus on the armies that have the most unpainted models and try to get that number down a little bit. I have these all worked out on like spreadsheets. And so I know which ones I need to focus on. And, work on them for, 3 or 4 months, something like that, and then move on to something else. Aim for roughly 2,000 points worth, and if I can do a little more, great. And, what that means is my smaller armies won't get a lot of attention for some time, but, I don't really have big, huge armies if they're not painted, right? So, it makes more sense for me to focus on the armies that I have a lot of, to kind of demonstrate that I even have those in some ways. So that's going to be fun. Now, I think the first army I'm going to do for Age of Sigmar will probably be Skaven. I really thought about Beasts of Chaos and a few other things. Skaven have the most unpainted models. And so, they benefit from being pretty darn good right now in the meta. So that's a good army to have come up and running and available for play. And, I've never really given them too much time and attention. Most of the models I have for Skaven were painted by like an old buddy of mine. So there's some good stuff there. I'm not really sure what kind of type of Skaven I'll be working on. Whether it's Pestilence or Scryer or something like that. But I've ordered the book, and we'll see what it kind of looks like, and we'll see what possibilities are there. And then for the 40K stuff, there's a lot of organization to do, as I mentioned. You'll probably be some sort of generic. I'm organizing things by what has a codex. So like Cities of Sigmar is a huge piece, massive army there. That's definitely going to be my second project after Skaven. I'm just kind of waiting for the book, and in terms of proportion of unpainted models, Cities of Sigmar would be by far the biggest. So just kind of waiting off until I get the rules for that. And again, on the 40K side, it'll probably be just something contained within the standard Adeptus Astartes Space Marine Codex. I might kind of mix and match a little bit. All of those other little Space Marine armies are kind of included in there. So like Ultramarines, obviously, but Black Templar, Crimson Fist, all those other like little smaller factions besides Blood Angels and Dark Angels and Space Wolves that have their own codex. Mostly just Astartes. And, I might break out some of those others, and part of the organization is I might put some of those that are kind of under just the generic Space Marine umbrella and put a few of those towards the Blood Angels and a few towards Dark Angels and stuff like that. So that kind of whittles down that. And then when I get back to Imperial armies at some point, maybe it's one of those other chapters or something like that. So there's some work there, some organization that needs to be done, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm really, really excited to get back into painting. I'm going to try for roughly one project per week, but I'm not going to kind of hold myself to that. If it takes me a week and a half or 2 weeks, I think that's fine. And I think that's the problem with that last painting initiative I did, was I had bigger aspirations, right? So I try to paint like 35 models in a week. And, life gets complicated, and all of a sudden your 1 week project takes 3 weeks, and it's kind of pitiful. Baking that into the name of the series, I think was aspirational, but maybe not quite as practical. But, I think, so I'm going to focus on smaller projects and hopefully push some out. By the end of August, I'm hopeful that you'll definitely see some painted Skaven, which would be cool. So, some upcoming videos. Well, there's a lot here I want to really focus on. I really want to kind of jump into lore videos and kind of other unique things like that. So I'll probably do like a big picture on the Skaven collection as it is. I have a couple hundred Skaven, a couple of older models like the old Screaming Bell and stuff like this. And I'll work, do a little overview video of the collection as it stands, talk about what I want to add to it. I might do some videos on rules and models and potential army lists, things like that. So Skaven will be kind of a component of the channel for the next couple months. And, once I get the 40K collection organized and I know exactly what project I want to work on for there, I'll probably do the same. And part of that will be lore, part of it's fluff. I guess that's the same thing. But also just, the things I own and the rules and so on. So it's kind of like the complete package. And then on the other side, I've been really working on 2 or 3 videos over the last few weeks that are, they're making some, there's some work there to flush those out, but a lot of the work's already been finished. And one of those is kind of a series on Lord Solar Macarius. And I want to look at kind of the lore surrounding that figure, the model, the rules, and the historical inspiration. This is someone that, he's an Imperial Guard, special character, kind of dropped off in recent years, but he has this kind of cool background story, and it's highly inspired by Alexander the Great. So I want to do kind of some parallel historical videos there as well. So that's about it. There's one other thing I want to talk to you about, just very briefly, about an upcoming project, and I'll see you in just a moment. Okay, so here we are. This is what I fondly call my Games Workshop database, kind of personal collection of files. It has all my collection information and rules and history and all sorts of stuff, artwork. And the biggest thing here, about at the beginning of 2018, I did like a little video about my plans. One of those plans was the creation of a website. And this is mostly kind of like a blog, but basically it would have information about my videos and stuff like this, a little bit about my collection and stuff like that, a little bit about me, whatever. That's kind of the smaller piece that I want to focus on. What I'm really interested in is developing kind of a model resource. And so this is over here. This is my model file. And, I started working on this in, 2012, 2013. And I really just started copying files off of basically Games Workshop. They've recently changed their file format, and I don't know if it's probably not because of what I'm doing, but I just thought it was funny. So such that you can't actually download the files off the website anymore. But anyway, so this is my model, basically, database. There's a lot of work here to organize things. And currently it's 3,674 files and 50 folders, and all of these are showing unique models. So there's almost 4,000 unique models in this file folder. And the idea I had behind this is basically like a model resource. Non-profit, not trying to impede on Games Workshop. Hopefully they don't get angry at me for doing this. It's just a way to provide basically an online catalog. In the same way as like Stuff of Legends really focuses on more historical models, this is mostly more modern. So it's basically every single model produced in the last 25 years and a few more others on the periphery. And I would eventually like to add in older models, but for now, this is what it basically is. This first page is just, a few of the demons, and mostly terrain. But I'm kind of starting to organize it by keyword, such that it hopefully has some searchability when you're actually ready to try to find, anything that's Khorne related or whatnot. But here's the kind of Age of Sigmar file. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of kind of fiddling around with keeping track of all the models that have ever been released by Games Workshop, and I hope that if this is ever created, that it actually does work as a pretty decent little resource for people if you're collecting, if you like conversions. The other thing I want to really add into it is some other kind of data about the different files. Most of this is really hard to come by, but one thing I definitely want to do is add as many dates as I can for when they were released. Wherever possible, I kind of added those in. But I would definitely consider adding like who was the sculptor behind this, and so you can potentially look for models that are designed by a certain person or something like that. There's a lot of work here, and that would be the focus mostly of the website. My little personal information and stuff like that is mostly just kind of on the periphery. That's kind of my intent, but I think this would be a fun thing to have available for people to look at and search, because frankly there's a huge amount of Forge World stuff in here, of like all of the legions and such. the reason why this has some utility is that, Games Workshop is focused primarily on pushing new releases, right? They're not as motivated to keep track of older stuff. It just doesn't have the profit motive behind it. Now, they have, to my knowledge, basically stopped producing catalogs. Obviously, they must have some sort of internal catalog at their archive, corporate archive. But the last time they actually produced a catalog that actually, explained this is the model range as it exists to this day was in 2010. So it's really something they've moved away from. And I think if they were to do so, it's very much just a modern thing that you don't see. They're not interested in kind of models that were produced 10, 15 years ago. So hopefully this will come together within, a few months, and we'll see. Maybe it doesn't work, or there's not really a platform that can accommodate this amount of images. I don't know. But I'll be experimenting that, and that's certainly the goal here, is to kind of add all this together and make it accessible. So that's something that is definitely on my radar, and I put some time and energy into working through all this stuff. So that's the hobby journey for July. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.